Yes. Hey guys, Kitty Sapphire here. First off, I want to apologize that I've come on so late. I know I did. I said that I was going to do a live stream at 7:30, and things got a little bit crazy, and then that craziness didn't necessarily cease until after 8 o'clock. So I wanted to say, I really am sorry that I came so late, but I'm glad that you guys are here because, guess what? Con season is here, and you know what that means. First con review of 2020. I'm really excited. Hey Jay and Melody, how are you doing? So today we're going to be talking about this convention, this event that just recently passed called the Pokemon Midseason Tournament. This is something that I've never been to before. Actually, first of all, I'd never heard of it until just recent, like maybe a few months gone by. Maybe I would have to say the beginning of January, late December is when I heard about this tournament event. And frankly, I haven't been to too many tournament events, to be honest. I've been to one other tournament event, and that was more like a streaming event, more of like Evo. And just the feel of it is completely different. So what I'm going to talk about here is I'm going to talk about my experience as a whole. Then I'm going to talk about the good. I'm going to talk about the bad, because I say bad because there wasn't really anything bad about this particular event. And then the weird stuff, which is definitely minute, it's a slight gripe, maybe nitpicks here and there, but it's not really too much of an issue. But hey, I digress. So tonight, of course, we're gonna start with the overall event in general. Well, first of all, this particular event is a midsummer season where they actually. These are not PJs, sir. This is not PJs. These are just my my fleece sweater. It's really, 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 really cold at night, and it's like, But anyway, going back to the main topic, the tournament itself is basically a Pokemon Midsummer Tournament, based around Pokemon's recent generation, Pokemon Sword and Shield. Now, a lot of people, when they talk about tournaments, I automatically think of the TCG or the trading card game Pokemon, but this was basically straight up video games. They had screens everywhere. You can watch the battles, and everybody came in with their Switches. I came with my Switch, but for another reason, because I was basically a vendor there. It was the young lady who basically threw this particular event has been doing it for 5 years, and this was the first time that she was considering installing a artist alley, similar to what you see at several different conventions. If anybody has been to an anime convention, a comic book convention, etc., they have a vendor's hall or a dealer's hall, and then they have an artist alley. So, well, in this particular case, to kind of spice up the tournament a little bit, she decided to do an artist alley, which I was thought really cool. Gave us a chance, us local artists, to actually show ourselves and show what we have to offer. And we came up with some cool merch that we could sell to our, Pokemon fans. So yeah, this was a huge opportunity. It was a very small event. It took place in a hotel, which I've been to conventions where they have like video game tournaments, and then those took place in a hotel, but mostly with the huge Evo event, usually it's a convention hall. Also, now that I explored various different types of conventions, most of them take place in halls. Not a lot of them, depending how the size of the convention, none of them take place as much as in a hotel, but this one actually took place in a hotel. It was relatively small. Also, the atmosphere was a lot different from what I'm used to, especially with the streaming party in Evo. There was, when it comes to Evo, and you guys probably know this for any heavy-duty gamer, it's usually loud. People are hollering, people are screaming, salt is being thrown everywhere, bottles, chairs. God forbid if you basically lose a bout. It is crazy. But with the Pokemon mid-season tournament, it was more like a chess match. So if you guys been to those really high class battles of the mine where, you know, you have people all over the country, all over internationally playing a game of chess, which is a very, very difficult game. Well, for me at least. I get the object of the game. I at least know the movements and the different types of pieces that are used, but basically my forethought and foresight needs a little bit of the up-tuning if I really want to do some serious damage in chess. But that's pretty much what the gist is. If you're going to do these battles, especially in the game, you will have to have that forethought. You have to really think and plan ahead when you're doing these battles. And there was no sound. Nada, zip, zilch. You can hear a pin drop, which was kind of very unusual for me because at the time, so used to all these tournaments, these other video game tournaments, fighting game tournaments, where you have like a huge crowd and people are yelling and throwing salt at each other, you know, calling out each other's names if they lost or something like that, or they were really pissed off because, you know, cheap moves and all that other junk. You know, this was a completely polar opposite. So it was something to get used to. There wasn't a huge artist alley. There was like a small amount. I think this was, you know, like I said before, this was more of a test run. So there was like pretty much 5 different artists that were working in the artist alley that participated in this tournament. And you know, it was relatively in the same tournament space, where on the opposite side of the room they had like tables where when they would announce for the different rounds, everybody would congregate around those big long black tables and get ready for the battle. And then, you know, after the round was over, everybody dispersed and they wanted to look around at several of the booths that were there. So it was very interesting. Just something to get accustomed to. It's a different experience. I like experiencing new things. I got to be a little bit more in tune with the Pokemon community because unfortunately I don't get a lot of chances to play a lot of the games like I used to. Blaze Blue, Guilty Gear, Bloody, the old games, Skullgirls, Killer Instinct, the recent Mortal Kombat. I don't really get a chance to bond with my fellow gamers. So this was a wonderful opportunity for me to do that. And even though I was not necessarily in the tournament itself, I think a lot of people were a little bit mixed about what I was saying on Facebook because, on Facebook and Twitter, links click down below. They thought I was actually in the tournament. And it's a nice sentiment, but as a Pokemon breeder, I'm still very new to the fighting scene. Like, I just got into the battle tower. I, started working my way up to different components. It's kind of hard, especially the fact that most of your crew is pretty much evolutions, and I'm starting to understand a little bit better. Like, for instance, no offense, trust me, as you know, I'm a huge evolution fan, and I'm starting to understand the pros and cons of having evolutions in your crew. You really have to spice up your repertoire if you're going to make headway. And from what I understand, as much as there's a lot of Pokemon, a very small amount of ratio of Pokemon are battle ready in these types of tournaments, which is kind of a shame, to be honest. Especially if I know it shouldn't be based on attachment, it should be based on like IVs and performances, but you get kind of bummed out when you can't use your favorite Pokemon in tournaments because of the fact that, well, they're not so good at tournaments. Like dear Flareon. Not to narc on my Flareon. I'm sorry, my Flareon. But Flareon is not very good when it comes to battle ready. It's very slow. It can hit like a 2-ton truck if you engineer it correctly. But for the most part, it's not very good when it comes to battling. And I see that when I do the raid battles. When I decide to use my 2 Flareons, my shiny Flareon Starfire, and my regular Flareon Floofy. both are dear heart and they're both wonderful and they do hit very well. But unfortunately, as far as that speed, and I need that speed, it takes like almost 2 turns for them to actually land one hit. And that can be detrimental, especially if you have a speedy type of Pokemon who has a ridiculous amount of HP versus my dear heart Flareons. You know, usually they're not my first choice, but when I need to get, like, say, a plant Pokemon down for the count, usually Starfire and Floofy are the 2 that I usually use for the most part. And if I want to actually change it up a bit, I'll use my Scorch. But for the most part, you know, I'm starting to understand the importance and the different elements and the different types to, you know, how they basically function. And it's kind of tough. Another thing that I thought was really good is the people. The people were really nice. There was a couple of shy people here and there, but you know, that's not so uncommon in the con scene. You're going to find a lot of people that are, you know, more solitary, not as much as a social butterfly as others, but, you know, this is a way that they can kind of branch out and learn from others and actually congregate, which is really cool. Another good thing was my fellow artists at Artist Alley were really, really nice. Excuse me. Of course, I bonded more with others, especially the one that was next to me on my right side, which, by the way, was funny because the person that was sitting next to me on the right side was somebody that I met at another convention called CT GamerCon in Atlantic City, and it just so happens they are a sibling duo. So, you know, I knew the brother, but I finally got a chance to meet his sister, and I thought it was really, really cool. So we ended up talking for like hours on end, even though we were, you know, trying to, you know, show off our art and sell our art and stuff like that. So that was fun. Also, the manager, thank you so much. The director who runs this tournament. I want to say thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to experience your convention. You know, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm hoping it grows from here. You know, I would love to come back. It's nice to actually bond with my fellow Pokemon trainers. It's really nice to just get out of the house, pretty much, because unfortunately with my crazy schedule, I don't get to necessarily congregate and socialize like I used to. So yeah, so it was really nice. So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity and, you know, letting me showcase my artwork. Okay, so we're gonna move on from the good all the way to the bad, I guess. The reason why I say bad, because there was really nothing too bad about this. The drive wasn't bad. You know, I have a little bit of finickiness of traveling to New Jersey. I'm sorry, my fans from New Jersey. It's not anything personal. It's just that I have too many bad experiences driving through New Jersey. If somebody is willing to help me out, willing to recommend me to some places, but when it comes to New Jersey transit, it's difficult and it's really weird, and just not a lot of good experiences with traveling. I would have to say, in this regard, this was the first time I had a really good time traveling with my friends to this convention. It was great. I loved it. It was wonderful, and you know, I appreciate all hands on deck. My darling, my dear heart, my significant other, and one of my best friends coming out and helping me out with this particular tournament. So yeah, just traveling. You know, New Jersey overall is like kind of hesitant of going into these particular tournaments or conventions. But I think if I have more experiences like this past weekend, I think that might change over time. We'll see. As far as the others, I have to say that I'm not accustomed to something so small. But that's just me, and that's my personal experiences. So I hope it gets bigger, but that comes through time and word of word of mouth and more ads and what have you. So we'll see. We'll see. Especially the fact that I think a lot of people would like to participate in the tournament because there is a cash prize afterwards. So from what I hear, so it's really fun to actually participate. Another thing was, unfortunately, one of the TVs were lagging, especially the main, when it came to the main fights, some of the TVs and some of the battles were lagging. So, but it's streaming and, you have a lot of power that's going into each of the battles, framing, and, fellow YouTubers and fellow streamers can understand this, that sometimes it goes really bad. It goes really sour. So it's like, yeah, so it's just it's one of those things that can't necessarily help. It's a toss-up, so so that can't necessarily be helped, but I hope that later on when they start doing more tournaments that will be less of an issue, but we'll have to see. We'll see next year, or since this is a mid-season tournament, I don't know, maybe the next portion. I think if this is mid-season and it's like winter time, so the next season is spring, so it would be mid-season tournament for the springtime. So we'll see. So we'll see. It wasn't like as bad. And now for the nitpick. Now this is a little tad nitpick, and I understand the reason why. I didn't like the fact that you had to basically buy stuff at the hotel. Anybody who's been to a convention, anybody who's been to an event like this, everybody knows that con food or any event that's being thrown, whoever's doing the venue will hike up the prices for food. And in my opinion, the food was subpar. It was okay. It wasn't like drop dead delicious like beforehand, but some people would say, well, that's con food, but I understand that, and I understand the reason why. The reason us artists was able to get there with hardly, was able to get there with the tables being free, the admission was being free, so free entry on pretty much majority of the levels. It's understandable why getting us to eat the food at the hotel, that means in the future, if we don't do that, they can't do the event free as much anymore. So I get it. It reduces the funds, and it also is benefit for the hotel because that means more clients are coming in. But it's just like, you have some people that have allergies. I know they said, they would handle it, but some places, since this is technically supposed to be our only option, that can be a problem. Like me, I'm a very picky eater. I try my best to eliminate eating out, but when it comes to milk, even slight, I just reintroduced myself to peanut butter and jelly, and I had a little small reaction, which I didn't have before. So it's like, I've become a little bit more aware, especially the fact that I'm lactose intolerant. Dude, that, I have to be very careful of what I eat. Some people do dishes with milk in it, and I really don't like it, and it just messes me up. So, that's the only gripe that I have with it, is forced to eat at the place and at the venue instead of giving us a choice to eat at the venue or eat outside. And also the fact that the prices were really, really bad. But everybody's like, oh, that's con prices for you. Yeah, that's true, but still, couldn't make it a little bit more manageable. But again, I know exactly the reason why that this was happening, and I don't blame anyone for it. If anything, I would just blame the person who's in charge of the hotels. Hotel. It's just one hotel that we were in. But yeah, it's just one of those things. It's a trade-off. So, take it as you wish. So that's pretty much it. If so I want to say, you know, thank you guys for actually coming and sitting here and listening to me ramble about the upcoming new conventions. There's going to be a list on my Facebook page and Twitter, so check out those at the bottom of this video. There will be a link, and you know, it's really great if you want to continue to catch up on what I'm doing and what conventions I'm going to hit next. Definitely, most definitely, please check out those websites. If you guys want to support, I know I would love all the support that I can get, whether you are watching my videos, liking my videos, sharing it with your friends. Please share it with your friends and family. I think these are conversations that we otakus or nerds or geeks need to have. And it's good to talk about, you know, your experiences to going to these events, because it gives you a chance to spread your happiness for these mediums, these and having a good time with it and such. Also, not only share this with your family if you guys really want to support, because I do a lot of these also contribute to my traveling capabilities. So if you guys really want to support and see what I'm doing as an artist, please check out, you know, my Instagram, my Etsy. I do sell some merch on Etsy. Again, I'll put all the links at the bottom here. I will be showing all the Pokemon merch that I made over the weekend, as well as some very unique and original stuff on my Patreon. But of course, you know, I can't have these things without you guys, so I really appreciate it for any type of assistance, any type of support and love. So I hope you guys are really enjoy your rest of your night, and I'll talk to you later. Bye!